here is your host, Brandon Everett.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Extracting Wisdom, the podcast that helps you prevent the decay of your future. My name is Brandon Everett, and we have an awesome episode for you all today. This is Extracting Wisdom's 40th episode. It's crazy to think that I've sat down and done this 40 times with amazing guests along the way as we share experiences and just learn from each other to become better future dentists. And I just want to take a quick moment to thank everyone who has been tuning in and listening to the show. If it wasn't for you, this literally wouldn't be a podcast. It would just be just a couple people talking together. So thank you again so much. So for this 40th episode, I thought it would be a great idea to bring on some of the most driven and motivated dental students I know to throw around some different ideas on some different topics and just have a nice little roundtable discussion. So joining me today, we have Mr. Tyler Tolbert, who has been a guest on this show twice before now. Tyler, how you doing?
Third time's a charm. What's up, Brandon? I'm doing all right, man.
Attaboy. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, man.
We also have two more guests on tonight who are both new to Extracting Wisdom, but are no strangers to the dental podcast world. We have first Grady Gores. Thanks for being on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. And then last but certainly not least, we have friend Betchel. Right? Did I get that right? Betchel?
You did. Yeah.
Okay.
Betchel.
All right. Betchel. There it is. Thanks for being on. Good to be talking to you guys again.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
For sure. For sure. So first things first, let's just go around really quick and just kind of everybody introduce themselves and just kind of say, what year they are, what school they're going to, and just kind of anything else you guys want to include.
Yeah. So I'll start. Oh,
go for it, Ty.
No, go ahead, Grady. You're quicker than me.
All right, I'm a second year at Creighton down in Omaha. I did a master's program before starting dental school, so I've been down here for about 3 years now. Just kind of getting through midterms right now. It's been at least a test a day for the last few, and it's going to be that way for a while. So keeping my head above water in the meantime and trying to carve out time to do this kind of stuff when we can.
Where's that accent there from, Grady?
Minnesota. I'm a true Minnesota boy.
Minnesota.
After a couple years, it really starts to come out.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, you
we'll
bet.
get the O's going in a little bit here.
Well, Tyler, you go.
Yeah. So my name is Tyler Tolbert. I'm a D3 at the Dental College of Georgia. And so I've been in clinic for a few months now and still trying to keep my head above water. I've been really into podcasts for a long time. So it's pretty cool to be on a few here and there, and what better one to be on than Extracting Wisdom.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, it's good to be back, and I look forward to the discussion.
Yeah, my name is Friend, like Brandon said. My parents are not hippies. I'll just start with that. Get that out of the way. I took a unconventional, I guess it was unconventional, but at this point it's conventional route towards dental school. I had a short career between undergrad and dentistry. So originally from Idaho, no friends or family in dentistry till me and my brother. And then, I'm in Kentucky now at University of Kentucky at D3. So hitting clinic pretty hard, but we've got a unique curriculum here. So I'm still hitting the classes way harder than I would like. Got a nasty oral pathology exam tomorrow.
Oh, me too, man.
Yeah.
What do you got tomorrow, friend?
I got oral pathology.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Fun stuff.
That's the rest of my night.
Same here. My faculty decided to mix oral path with pharmacology, so I got double whammy tomorrow.
Double whammy.
Ooh, yeah.
Nice.
One class or two tests same day?
No, one class. Like everything in our curriculum's like integrated, so there's never separate classes. I don't know. It's interesting. It makes things like easier to understand at times, but it's also just so much information at once. It's wild.
Yeah, that's going to be a bear of an exam.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. So how soon are you guys aware? Like, what is your window of awareness for an upcoming exam? Because I am down to about 2.5 days, I would say. When I find out that I have one coming up, it's about 2.5 days.
Oh, yeah, mine. I live day to day. Our calendars are so freaking crazy. Now, that being said, the responsible side of me will the first day of syllabi, I set reminders on my phone to remind me a week in
that's
advance
good.
when all the tests
Oh,
are.
that's nice.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's day to day. I don't even know what classes I have tomorrow. If I have
We
free
we
time.
have a secretary for that. We delegated that, so I don't know.
Well, that's
I just
smarter.
look at my
I need to-
iCalendar.
Yeah,
Smarter, not
that
harder.
used to be how I operated last year, but I ran for our presidency over the summer.
Oh no.
So now I kind of got to be on
You
top of it. So it's crazy though. I had no idea how far ahead everybody in our class planned.
That's awesome. Man.
So
Wow.
I'll send out an email and whatnot, and then someone will come up to me on like Monday, like, "Hey, so I was looking at our schedule for Thursday, and it's like, wait, I don't have this
Yeah.
stuff memorized. You know, I gotta
Yeah.
like pull out my own email and remind myself."
Yeah.
So day to day, it's probably a couple days ahead, but planning ahead a little bit more now.
Sure. That's good.
Man, Grady, I forgot you were president, dude. Wow, congratulations! I
ridiculous.
feel like I'm
That's
talking
awesome.
to
I kind of forget
celebrities.
sometimes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We just elevated this interview, man.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
President. El Presidente in here.
Yeah, I need some autographs.
Yeah. So this really is a great group here, and we actually all met at the Life and Dentistry conference back in March. We were all there.
Yeah.
And you guys seriously all impressed me just to see how driven and passionate you guys are about dentistry. So I think tonight's episode is going to be really insightful, but also really fun, and just get a lot of different opinions on different things. So you guys ready to jump into the first topic?
Let's do it.
All right.
Absolutely.
So this is just fairly easy, but we can just kind of pass this around. What has been the hardest part of dental school so far for you guys? Let's hear from Grady first.
I think the hardest part of dental school is like knowing when to step away from stuff. You know, it's a big time management kind of just lesson in how to put your energy into different places, right? So like you can easily get caught up in lab, like just making sure that this incisal edge is perfect on your provisional, and you know you all of a sudden look up and it's an hour later and it's no better. So I think kind of just like knowing when to say, all right, that one's good, I got to move on and start working on some different stuff for tomorrow has been like the hardest thing for me, because every once in a while I'll sink a ton of time into a project and then we turn it in, and you know, not that grades are the end all be all, but like it's just one that the professors are like, we're gonna go easy on them and everybody gets the same grade, right? Whereas like you could have a test 2 days later that you absolutely should have been studying for. So just kind of having like the ability to step back and see things from kind of like a higher level, and knowing kind of where to order them on a scale of importance.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. And, you know, it's kind of interesting too, when you're working on provisional, composite, whatever, like you get so focused and viewed in, especially if you're like looking at loops, you know, you're so laser focused on like one triangular ridge or one central groove or whatever it is. But then like you fail to like zoom out every once in a while and kind of focus on like the overall project. And, you know, that could be with lab, that could be with, you know, your schedule as a whole. Yeah, I totally agree. That's time management is definitely a struggle.
Absolutely.
Okay, so who's next? Friend, go ahead.
Man, I wish I'd have gone first, Grady, because you stole mine. Yeah, I would say, I mean, time management. And my whole life, we'll just start college. You know, it was relatively easy, right? Because you've just got one singular focus. And so, you know, whether it was school and then it was work and now it's dentistry, but, you know, I'm married now. So I'm married, 3 years married now. And the time management between, like Grady's saying, where to put that time, because some places you get the dividends back, other places you don't. And then there's life outside of dental school as well. You know, I've got a wife, I've got a house, I've got a business. And so it's like, okay, where do you put the time, and where is the best yield for, you know, not just monetary, but quality of life, right? So that's been the hardest thing, is to, you know, pursue my wife, do well in school, and overall just have a good quality of life, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with Maloli about that. He came to speak at Creighton last week.
I saw that. Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Like he brought the house down. We had a good turnout. But I was asking him about like hobbies and stuff like that outside of you know, school and outside of personal development, you know, like talking about reading fiction or like, you know, tinkering, art and stuff like that. And his take was like, if that helps you recharge, right? Like if that's going to raise your quality of life and that's going to help you bring more energy to the table on Monday or, say whenever, that's actually like a really productive activity. Whereas like sometimes you just like feel guilty because you can look at your schedule and say like, oh man, next week I got all this stuff going on. I need to be studying. Like I need to be working on this stuff. I'm being lazy or whatnot. But it's like, well, when you step back and kind of evaluate it all from the perspective of a whole person, doing some of that stuff can be, really productive in the long term.
Yeah.
No, that's so true.
For sure. Tyler, what are your thoughts?
Well, I inwardly laughed at friend having his answer stolen by Grady, and then Grady stole my answer with his addendum. Yeah, so I think one of the hardest things is just mentally, you get really, really driven and focused on your tasks, and you're just trying to knock things off your to-do list, and then something comes up, and time is ticking away, and you're not knocking things off your list, and you start feeling guilty. I have a hard time sometimes just like hanging out with friends or like going out for a beer after school or something like that, because something is always in the back of my head just calling me back. And so that's probably one of the most difficult things, is just being able to set it aside, relax, just calm down for a second, and just like actually realize you're in life to enjoy it. Like you're not really supposed to just be stressing out 24/7, even though that sometimes seems like that might be the best thing to do. So yeah, I have a lot of philosophical moments throughout the day where I'm like, what's really a good, quality of life decision right now? So that's probably one of the hardest things. Yeah, just mentally.
So I guess a good question or a good follow-up to that is like, knowing that there's all these different aspects to your life and it's not just dentistry, how do you guys manage that? I guess we'll just go like Grady, go ahead. Like, do you have any specific like,
I'm not going to pretend to have like a ton of wisdom on this one. And, I think you make a good point. Like this isn't a uniquely like dental school issue. This is something that we're all going to struggle with forever. But I think my most recent attempt out of a solution is just like being a little bit more diligent with scheduling. Like I don't know who said it. It was probably on a podcast. Like you can let a calendar run your life if you run the calendar. And just like scheduling in free time, scheduling in dates and whatnot. Just saying like, this Saturday I'm going to block out 3 hours. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to do anything with dental school, and kind of being a little bit more diligent with the calendar, I think is going to be my next attempt at solving this one. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah. Keep us posted.
Yeah.
Friend.
Yeah, mine's kind of twofold. So the way Brandon, tell me again, the question is like, how do we manage?
Yeah. Like, do you keep a calendar, notebook, like whatever? Do you have any specific, I don't know, methods or just to make sure that you're not like all work all the time?
Yeah. Well, twofold. So one, and Maloli talks about this a lot, and the Life in Dentistry kind of took it from him and ran with it as well. But the why, right? What is the most important goal? So, for me, dentistry is not my number one. It's I would say number 4. My faith is first, and my wife, and then family, others, and dentistry. So it kind of falls in that order. So, and I've had to sit down and create a business plan for my marriage. So I'm just so logical, and
that's so
romantic. That's so romantic.
Yeah, I know. Actually, it came from my wife. She's like, "You're so focused on business. Why don't you make a business plan for our marriage?" I was like, "I can't."
That was total sarcasm. That was sarcasm, friend.
Well, hey,
he actually did it.
I did it, man. I did it. No, it's been hard. So I would say just creating those priorities, and like you guys were saying, the scheduling. So it's like Friday afternoons, no matter what, Fridays are free to hang out with my wife. And then it's
good.
When I do these, when I do a podcast, I try to do them early in the morning, or my phone meetings are usually in the morning. We're breaking that rule now, I guess, but
sorry, my bad.
Early. No, I love it. This afternoon it was free, but just like you're saying, I schedule it out, and then Maloli does it too in the, free time. And then you just have to numerically, where is my time I've spent? If I'm going to say faith is a big thing to me, how much time do I spend pursuing that? Compared to how much time do I spend doing business? How much time do I spend pursuing my wife? And so there's those. Costas, and this dates me, but back in the episodes of like the 20s, right when he first started Dentalpreneur, he talked about his number one books. And one of them was called The Perfect Morning. And it's written by a martial arts guy and basically just talks about the power of routine. So I started that, and I'd love to say I'm perfect at it, but I'm not near as good as I can be. But the whole point is you try and get up at the same time every morning, do the same routine, pick what's good for you. I'll journal, I'll meditate, I'll pray, and I'll get up at right around 5 a.m. every morning. So that's what I try to do. So when I do it, I feel awesome for the day, good stretch and all that. But and journaling just helps me think through the difficulties and kind of internally process without having to vent to someone,
Right.
So that's a long answer to your question.
But
those
that's
are the two ways I do it.
Yeah, those are great things too. Tyler, anything else to add?
Yeah. So also a twofold answer. So in terms of managing my time, I really have like the simplest app in the world. It's called To Do. And it's literally just a running to-do list of just like everything you can think of. And like I do it even with the most minute stuff. Like if I leave a friend on red, there's going to be like a note in there, be like, text so-and-so back. Like I have to do this just to like keep my life straight, even the little things. And it also has like a really gratifying sound whenever you do something. It's like I don't know if that came through.
Oh yeah.
But it is the most amazing sound in the world. Like it actually gives me like a endorphin release. But besides that, I would say that I have simplified my life a great deal since getting into dental school. I used to, it sounds sad, but it's not. I used to pursue a lot of different things. I kind of was in that sort of like adolescent stage where you're trying to find your identity. And so you just like get into a lot of different stuff. Well, I was there up until like 21.
That's awesome.
So, I was just like doing all kinds of stuff. Like, I was like, I play guitar and I practice languages and I hang out with this group of friends and that group of friends. And I try and do all these different things. And I sort of found out in dental school that I just didn't realistically have time for all those different things. And so I try to figure out how I can make every day a microcosm of like the things that I care about and I want to spend time on. And so I just sort of split up every single day into the things that I care about. And I think that's helped a lot because I think that, long term, what you develop the most in is the stuff that you're doing every single day. So if it matters enough to you, block out something every single day, even if it's, half an hour, and, you can still keep that thing. But it was effectively reducing the number of things that I was splitting up. And I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And I am a huge calendar freak. Like my girlfriend makes fun of me all the time because like I have almost to the minute, like everything kind of planned out. And it's actually pretty bad at times too, because if I don't stick to that schedule, then I just get flustered for the rest of the day just because like my whole day shot, everything's kind of pushed back. And like, I'm not going to be able to get everything done. Which is a whole, like kind of a different issue, but definitely calendars is a good thing, whether it's like physical or digital, whatever. But another thing I kind of started this past semester is I just keeping a notebook. I like the kind of the feeling of physically crossing things off too. So I'll have like a little to-do list in there or just like jot different notes down or like what I want to get done that day. I think there's like both methods are very powerful. And I think like if you use them together, it's even better that way. So, but it's tough. It really is tough. But as long as you have some sort of method, like it sounds like everybody does, whether, it's super intricate or not, everybody's making an effort. So that's awesome. Like just keeping that everything nice and rounded.
Well, and I think it's so cool to take different, we're so young, right?
Right.
I feel young. I feel like I'm still 18, but I love to look and see what different people are doing and emulate what has worked well for them, even if it's just for a short time. Be like, okay, how does this work with my lifestyle? How does this work with my why? I call myself moldable. My wife calls me a chameleon. It's like, okay, whatever group we're in, let's try and fit in for a bit, and not in a way to assimilate just to what everyone's doing, but in a way of, okay, if someone's been super successful, there's a reason. Let's find that reason and see what they do well and try to emulate that in our lives. So I appreciate it.
That's a huge point.
Thinking.
Yeah. And that always sounds like, whenever I was going through like baseball and sports and stuff like that too, you're working with tons of different coaches, and they would always want you to do something their specific way, and you would try that for a little while, but then ultimately at the end of the day, it's like little bits and pieces from all of these different coaches. So like the more people you talk to, the more people you meet, more things you learn. You can kind of incorporate these little tidbits into your daily routine, which help improve everything.
Sure.
So
exactly. Yeah. Whatever. Go ahead.
No, keep it going.
All I was going to say is that's kind of been one of my life mottos, is whatever I can do to learn from other people's mistakes and their successes. Right. So my whole goal has been with dentistry is to create a family. It's like, how can we build just an encouraging environment where everyone kind of shares their hits and what they did wrong. And so from both sides, this is what I did wrong. Don't do it. And this is what worked for me. Try it in your situation. So
right.
That's my hope.
Absolutely. Okay. So that's pretty much that's the first one. Is there anything else that anybody wants to add to that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sounds good. No. So here's another thing that I wanted to ask too. And even though like a lot of us have only been like 2 or 3 years into dental school, like what is one thing that you wish you knew on your first day of D1 year? So let's go.
You guys take this one.
Yeah. Tyler, go ahead.
Tyler. Yeah.
Picking on you.
Yeah. Okay. I would say that there's never going to be a good time for anything. You're just so like, yeah, you kind of like, you take things that you're hoping to have happen or you're hoping to do, and you're like, well, I just can't do that right now. Like there's this exam coming up. I got a practical coming up. This is just like, I'm in a storm right now. Like I can't do this right now. And you'll find that you can sit there and tell yourself that for years in dental school. Like
and you will.
Yeah. And by the time you get to a point where you don't have a million things going on, you're burnout. And the objective is to do everything except dental stuff or whatever your goals are. And so I don't believe in trying to wait for a good time to do something. I think you make time for things that matter to you. And then for other things, you make excuses. So you have to ask yourself, like, how important is this thing to me? And if it's really important, then I'm going to do it today. I'm going to do it this week. I'm going to make progress, or it's just not going to happen. And you have to decide how much it matters to you, because it's going to be a sacrifice of something else when you try to do it, because that's just how booked out you are. And I think if I'd have understood that a little bit more at the outset, I would have been a little bit more proactive about certain things, and I would have benefited from it.
That's awesome.
That's a huge point. I think one thing on that is like, as maybe it's just like our nature as dental students, but when you are gonna like roll that thing out that you've been waiting for the perfect time for, like you want it to be perfect from the get-go. Yeah. So you're always gonna be able to make that excuse of like, well, I should get this lined up like before I roll it out, before I really get going on it, and you'll be able to make that excuse forever. So it's like, it's never going to be perfect right from the get-go, so just do it, work out the kinks as you go. But the important thing is like just to get it out there, tell people you're doing it, and work on it as it goes. Don't try to make it perfect and then bring this completely finished product to market, basically. Just get going on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the longer you wait, like just the more missed opportunities and the so much more missed time that you have, that you could have just started it and then improved on it as you go. Because anything you start, you're not going to be perfect at right off the get-go. You're going to improve over time. So might as well just start now. So 4 years from now, you're in a better place than if you waited a year and then started.
Yeah,
totally
agree with that.
Grady, your friend, what do you guys thinking? Grady, go.
Mine is that I wish I would have like known the extent to which being a student is like a superpower when it comes to talking to older dentists. Like almost anybody I've ever reached out to is so excited to help and just like so excited to talk to a dental student that's like picking their head up out of the books and working on things that they'd say like actually matter, I think that like I had somewhat of an idea of that going into school, but it is never going to hurt to pick up the phone and call a doc in town or reach out to somebody they always have something to tell you that you don't already know. And in my experience, everybody's always willing to help.
Yeah, that's big. That's huge.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a dentist like turn me down when I've called to shadow or anything like that. Like they're always, and people like kind of get hesitant or maybe a little scared to call the dentist because they're kind of scared that the dentist is going to say no. But every single dentist is so happy to not only like have you shadow them, but to always like take the extra time to sit down and like explain things to you, or, you know, show them how they manage or run their business or advertise. Like they just go above and beyond like every single time.
Yeah. That applies to like older students too. You know,
Definitely.
like you don't worry about asking anybody a stupid question. Like if I'm sitting at school studying and a younger student comes up to me with a question on anything, like I will happily stop studying whatever I am, you know, to help somebody else out, because I know I can, you know, get them to where I was in a shorter time than it took me. And, you know, that's an awesome feeling. And I think that's something that all of us want to do. Like we're in this profession to help people, and that includes, you know, dental students and dentists alike.
For sure. And if they aren't willing, they're probably not a dentist you want to get to know that well.
That's
anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they're,
did you a favor?
Yeah, they did for sure. Yeah. We just had a dentist come in today, and he brought all 4 of his profit and loss statements from his business. You know, he came into our school for the business group and just laid everything bare and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. It's worked for me. You know, ask any questions about these and I'm happy to tell you. And it was amazing, you know, just to sit down and learn from him on, you know, how do they structure it in the real world? So yeah, I can definitely echo that sentiment for sure. What would I tell a D1 if I could go back? Or what do I wish I knew? It would be, I mean, I got to go back to the why. It's so simple. It's so simple to talk about, but it's so hard to do, at least for me. I don't know about y'all, but, and I wish I was better at it, but if you can really hammer out what you truly want and desire, and again, it doesn't even have to be dentistry, right? Just, you know, start with the basics and then figure out how dentistry incorporates into that. I feel like it makes so many things more clear. You know, there was a section in there where I wanted to potentially do oral surgery until I realized that every reason I went dentistry and not medicine, I would lose if I went back to oral surgery. And so that was a good 2-3 months of me slamming my head against the wall, trying to get perfect grades, you know, and not that high A isn't a great thing, but you know, the 20 extra hours to get that 98 versus the 90 could have been spent shadowing a dentist or asking the questions like Grady's talking about. So it's always been one of my biggest crutches, but the ADHD undiagnosed that sends me in every which direction, I think all that energy could be focused so much more if I could clearly define exactly what that vision is, you know. And for sure it can ebb and flow in different ways and, you know, in certain aspects, but just to be like, okay, friend, why are you in dentistry? You know, it's like Grady said, to serve and help other people. You know, it doesn't have to be with, you know, there's nothing wrong with being an oral surgeon, but I think what was pushing me towards that was the ego side of it. You know, I can help people just as much as a general dentist, you know, and I want to go back to my small town, and I can't do that as an endodontist. You know, town of 800 is not going to support an endodontist. So it's like, you know, where's my why? And, you know, once that's figured out, I feel like a lot starts to fall into place. And bottom line, I wasted a lot of time. So, excuse me.
Makes it a lot easier to make decisions.
Yeah, exactly. So if I could say anything, you're definitely probably not going to have it figured out, and that's okay. I sure as heck don't have it figured out. But if there's a way to maybe if I could have focused more on that, I would definitely would have.
Yeah. One thing you said in there, friend, that I think is a good point is about like diminishing returns on your time as far as grades go. Like when I came to dental school, I definitely did not know how much more time studying it took to go from a B to an A. Yeah. You know, like you can study a couple hours. Like if you go to class and pay attention, you can study a couple hours and pull out a C, no problem. Like a little bit more than that, you'll probably be fine with a B. But like to get highs in your class, you know, and like to pull consistent A's, it is minimum like 10, 15 hours more study.
Oh, it's crazy.
And still, you might not get there. You know, so that's definitely one thing I wish I would have known before I got started.
Yeah. It's huge. One of my best friends in dental school is one of the top of our class. And even the last test we got back, you know, I had a general good idea. You know, I still want to have a good understanding of the material, but he's coming back on, on this page, on this slide, it said different than this part in this lecture. And, the book says this. And I'm like, oh my word, I feel so sorry for the amount of time you just put in to learn about medically compromised patients when, I'm going to be out, and any seriously medically compromised patient, I'm sending to a hospital. Like, that's not for me. That's for the GPR. So, yeah, man, it's so much time can be put into that, and for some people, it's worth it. It's not for me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think as long as someone has goals for which like that kind of dedication to studying is like commensurate, like that, I understand. But, you run into people that are doing that because it's like the only thing they know how to do. They don't even necessarily know what the end is. They just know the means, and they just head against the wall trying to do that. And for me, because I was a high-ish grade student, like D1 my first couple semesters, like I was really trying hard, and debating about, what was on this slide, what was on that slide. And when I kind of unlocked the key and realized that none of this was actually leading towards what I was hoping to do, so many opportunities all of a sudden opened up. Like the floodgates were open. Like I had all these other opportunities to do other things and just free up my mind.
Absolutely.
And it's not like I don't focus on things that are going to be very relevant one day. Like, of course I do. I know what I need to know more or less. But what is minutia and like what can sort of be left at dental school.
Yep.
It's just,
you don't need to know the L or R isomers.
Yeah.
The Krebs cycle.
Biochem. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love what Grady said about the gold mine as a dental student. Just talk about CE, the ability for us to take CE that in 2 years would cost us 10 times as much.
That was the one thing. That was the one thing I was going to say too, is like one thing I wish I knew or I would tell other D1s too, is know how important dental CE is as a dental student.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
So like we've been talking about, you can get A's and study for hours and hours and hours on end, or you can study a decent amount, get good grades, but then also start attending these other events that you are going to learn exponentially more than dental school will ever teach you.
Yeah. And
another thing on this topic is like, you should know from the get-go that the smartest guy in your class is not the one that's getting the best grades. Like those do not necessarily go together. That guy's really, really smart. Don't get me wrong. But just because you're not pulling A's in every single class, like doesn't mean you're not intelligent, and everybody I think in dental school wants to be the guy that when you walk out of a test, everyone's like, hey, what do you think about this question? Like, it feels good to be that guy, right? Or like in lab and stuff like that. It feels awesome to be that guy, but you're going to kill yourself over things that don't necessarily matter if you get caught up in that race.
Thanks again for tuning into episode number 40. It's been an awesome ride so far, so be sure to tune in again in 2 weeks for part 2 of this awesome student roundtable discussion. I hope everybody has a good couple weeks, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.